leaders get together at the G8 summits, they start making international rules, right? Well, they have to agree on those rules. And I guess they go along with it even if it's not in the best interest. But of course they package it so that it is. Now, if you've got it to where you've got a leader that's invited and he represents a country or a continent, most likely a country, but if they've got a big enough sphere of influence, they're representing more than one country, including their own. Now, if that's the case, is he selling out his people? You know, we in America don't take a lot of time to do what we have to do with a lot of this stuff, but we do have some things going on where, you know, we're just so busy. We enjoy some time doing stuff. We're busy, but we've got ourselves an issue where a lot of laws are passed, things are happening, and anyways, things are happening, and we do this and that, and you know, that's just kind of the way it is. And we're just so busy. We're just so busy that it's really tough. It's really tough to be able to follow all of the laws that are made, and do all the things that we need to do, and research what's going on with those laws. You know, who's it benefiting? Who's losing out of the deal? And I just have to say, whatever spare time I have, I try to research as much of that as I can. It's really tough because there's so many laws being passed. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the power structure, being that it's corporation, bank, then government, then your people, the people end up being at like the very bottom, which is no different than it's been in history, right? And we took this beautiful thing in America where the people actually chose what was going to happen for their own future. And you get people in government that just start selling out your people again. And the problem with that is, then you go back to like it was in any other industry, country, etc., where the common person is at the bottom. Now, we allow it to happen by allowing people to keep getting voted into office. You've got some people that have spent their entire life in the representative seat for your area. They call the shots for everything. And they're still there because of money, because of influence, because of the backing that they get from people. You guys really enjoy seeing Harry Reid for decade after decade? The same could be said about a lot of the people in our system. It was really only supposed to be the judicial branch that had Supreme Court people, and literally limited to a handful that should be serving a life term, so to speak. And they should be impeccable as far as values and upholding the Constitution. Shouldn't even be a question. But then you've got about 500 seats in the Congress, and it seems as though many of them are going to get a life term themselves. It's not the way it's intended, and that's why you guys are being sold out, people. So, the reason that natural resources play into this is because you've got things going on in various countries, and it seems as though natural resource allocation and acquiring natural resources is the goal. So, what's in it in Ukraine? Well, a lot of people say it's because it's the transit of the oil and gas that comes from Russia into Europe. Now, it's been brought up years ago, but people forget. They try to whitewash reasons and rationale with sideshow circus stunts, such as gay rights in Sochi, Olympics. Even the Olympics itself is a spectacle. And now it's over. We went from Christmas to Super Bowl to Olympics, and then in about a week, you're going to start getting March Madness. And then after that, baseball season starts. And then after that, ice hockey season has their finale. And then after that, you've got the All-Star game. And then after that, you've got football spring training. And then after that, you've got the football season. And then after that, you've got the NBA season starting up. That's the way sports are laid out in this country. And every country's got their own diversions. You couple that as the pastimes for the American man, along with their 60 to 80 to 100-hour work week to try to survive, and you've got a populace that has no time to read a 1,000-page document, to read the books on local governance and global governance by Brzezinski. And if you're not able to read them, who's stopping the people from enacting these laws? Nobody. Because everybody that's involved with making them has already been bought, has an interest in what's taking place, and will come out just fine. Or if you want to take it a step further, will be allowed to live, and their family will not be harmed. Now, I would like to say that there's no bribery, there's no threats, and there's no harm or threats thereof done to anyone in government. But I would be a naive fool to think that. And so would you. Now, why would we be in Afghanistan? Well, we now have 24/7 armed guards around the biggest opium fields in the world. And we have for a decade. Why are we in Iraq? Well, a couple of reasons. Some say it's because Saddam Hussein was going to pay off his debts with the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which financed Iraq to continue for a while. Saddam Hussein, it is rumored, was going to pay off his debts early and increase oil production. But that was going to affect too many people with supply and demand if he had an extra supply. Their prices would go down and the profiteering would stop for a lot of people. It's a simple supply and demand curve right there. The other thing is, perhaps we wanted a little more say in all of that. Well, there you go. Iran, perhaps it's the same thing. It just hasn't taken place yet. Syria could be a thoroughfare for oil and gas with pipelines. It's hard to say, but that's been rumored as well. The first reason that I heard was because it was that Syria was actually quite diverse with their culture. They were not bought, owned, and operated by the IMF, which also means that the Rothschild family and the banker elites didn't have a stake there, and that's upsetting to them. Now, if we don't even know who's running for our local township or our state governor, how do you expect to understand what's going on with Rothschilds, IMF, and geopolitics? Wherever you put your scope is wherever you're going to focus in on and understand. But there's a lot of different layers to all of this. And it takes some time to research all of the facets. That is what is so fun. And that is very exploratory and satiates the creative mind. But aside from that, it matters. I like to look up. I like to look up and wonder whose thumb I'm under. Why can't I take care of my hopes and dreams? Why am I spinning my wheels just to pay for yesterday's debt? Yeah, it's a hamster in a cage reality. And you're just on that little hamster wheel. It's stupid. But how else is an elite class going to separate themselves above everybody in the world if everybody in the world has spare time? How else are all of the jobs that, seriously, a lot of them are quite horrible, how will the results of those jobs being accomplished, how will that happen if nobody wants to do them? And to be honest, nobody wants to do them. You're forced to do them because you're in debt and you have bills. Whereas the others that have money working for them have been allowed to do so. Right now, money is working against you. Money is working for them. But once you crawl into that side of debt, it's really tough to crawl back out. Anyone that knows money knows that. In fact, anyone in debt knows that. They just keep on stretching their arms up out of the hole that they're in. But all their hands are grabbing is a little bit of dirt, and it trickles right down, right at their feet. But yet, for some reason, your body is set up to where you have to go to bed at night and wake up the next day and see the same scenario. And you're going to see it for the next 80 years until you die. This is why it's important to see who controls you. The other thing is, it doesn't have to be this way. The system is in place because the people make it in place. It just needs to be replaced with a new system. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying everybody should have things for free. I'm just saying there's a lot of things at work that are attacking your prosperity. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And yet you still go and wake up and put your pants on to make the amount in a day that can barely cover a new pair of pants. You barely make enough in a day to pay for half a pair of shoes. That's messed up. That's messed up. The reason the banks are so rich is because you keep buying cars on loan. And you keep buying your house on loan. The banks didn't even have that money to begin with. They had about 10% of what they loan out. Be nice to open up your own bank if you could do that, right? Yeah, well, they know that, and they're not going to let you. In fact, if you guys were around in the 90s, you saw that many small banks ran out of business and everything got consolidated. Does that make sense? No one at the top likes competition. And if everybody understood fractional reserve banking and was able to do it, they wouldn't be at the top, would they? Well, there you go. So, do we put the power back in the hands of the people? I say we get third-party voting systems and then backup systems and then ways to publicly put your vote out and squash all of the people that are in office longer than a term. Then you're taking care of them getting bought off and you getting screwed.